Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of The Rundown. I am your host, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from California. That's right, from the left coast behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as you all know, I do not do this program on my own.
That's right. I'm your co-host for today's program. I am Mike Pikowarski, coming to you from the Gunshine State. Well, mostly Gunshine State. It's kind of middle of the road for Gun State now.
So how are we doing today, Mikey, on this Thirsty Thursday?
Thirsty. I'm very thirsty. My beverage container is empty, but we're going to wait until after 5 p.m. and be responsible.
Right. Well, I will say this. At least one of the advantages to switching to our new time slot at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, is it actually does open the door. So now it's like, socially acceptable if I decide that I want to partake. I'm not morning drinking. I may be day drinking, but I'm not morning drinking.
Hey, the best kind of day drinking is day drinking at work, right? And I'm listen at 3 p.m. here on the East Coast. That's the start of many, many happy hours. So that's peer pressure, and sometimes you just have to give in.
Well, exactly. So now, folks, just so you know, we are not alcoholics. We are drunks. Alcoholics have to go to all those darn meetings.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
We're just seriously though. We're just kidding. We like to joke around about stuff like that, but we always encourage people, if you do decide to partake of the adult beverages, please do so responsibly.
Yeah, and don't do so at work.
Yeah. Anyway, any special plans for the weekend, sir?
I think Sunday I'm going shooting. I'll probably work half a day and go shooting half a day. I think Sunday is shooting day. Bringing out the big toys, the Class 3 stuff, the belt-fed stuff.
Oh,
man. We're gonna have some fun. Yeah.
So one day you're actually going to invite me out there to shoot some of these Class 3 items.
Listen, I don't need the California Department of Justice coming after me because you decided to leave California, come to Florida, and pretend you were free. I don't need that going on over here. So I don't need no California warrants.
Not like you don't have any already.
California warrants? Probably so. But that's
probably so.
That's from the steel tip dart incident of 13, but that's different.
Exactly. So, hey, sir, why don't we go ahead and let's get into today's topics.
Let's do it.
All right. So let's start at the top of the list. Here we have at the top of the list, if you've been following the news, you know that this big infrastructure deal, this $1.2 trillion infrastructure deal was passed the Senate. It was supported by 19 Republicans. 30 Republicans voted against it. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, normally if the economy is stifled and we're in need of it, at the very beginning, a while ago, I was probably in favor of an infrastructure deal that would actually help improve roads and schools and stuff like that. But here's the problem we're facing right now, folks. Number one, we've already borrowed or put out there billions. And when I say billions, I'm talking record money has been put into the economy. That basically a lot of it's been spent, a lot of it hasn't been spent. But the fact is that we're seeing massive inflation already starting. And now here it is, we're doing additional spending. And once again, if it were for infrastructure, one could make the argument. But let's just be honest, like 23% of the overall stuff that is in this particular measure is actual infrastructure. We're talking roads, bridges, internet, stuff like that. The rest of it is going into climate change and social programs that they're calling infrastructure. And needless to say, there are a number of people who are actual conservatives calling for the heads of these 19 GOP senators, which quite frankly are led by, none other than the Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the Senate.
Yeah, this is... let's all get along. Let's and this is what they're trying to do, Craig. They're trying to work together because they all want to be successful during their reelection campaigns, right? They've just sold out their values, sold out their party, sold out everybody. But we see this happen all the time. It's really no surprise that this occurs. Let's give you the 19 names here so you know. Roy Blunt from Missouri, Richard Burr, North Carolina, Shelley Moore Capito from West Virginia, Bill Cassidy, Louisiana, Susan Collins of Maine, no surprise there, Kevin Kramer, North Dakota, Mike Crapo, Idaho, Dave Fisher, Nebraska, Lindsey Graham, South Carolina, Chuck Grassley, Iowa, John Hoven, North Dakota, Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, Lisa Murkowski, Alaska, no surprise there, and Rob Portman of Ohio, James Risch, Idaho, and of course, Mitt Romney of Utah. Bob Sullivan, Alaska, Dan Sullivan, Alaska, Tom Tillis, North Carolina, and finally Roger Wicker of Mississippi. So those are your 19 sellouts that decided they were okay with giving up not a $1 trillion, like Craig said, $1 trillion to infrastructure. It's more like $500 billion to infrastructure and then $500 billion to specialty Democrat programs. So these 19 senators just voted to give gender dysphoria money to Pakistan so they could teach their children about gender dysphoria, because that's what American infrastructure needs. Pakistani kids to know the difference between a penis and a vagina.
Mike, and the worst part about it is that now you look at the way in which people are commenting on this. It's like they're blaming all Republicans for what these 19 Republican senators did. And, folks, I'll just tell you, there's a difference between a conservative and a Republican. And here's what it is. Most conservatives are Republican. But that does not necessarily mean that if you are a Republican that you are necessarily conservative. There are a lot of people who are Republicans simply because it's the only way they can get elected in the red state or the red community in which they are located. I always say the worst thing that we do as Republicans is when we go and we vote against our values. In California, we have been in the I call it super minority in our legislature twice. And the first time it was when we had Republican legislators vote for tax increases. The second time was when we had Republican legislators, once again, not all of them, but some of them, enough for it to be noticeable, voted for gun control. And sure enough, what winds up happening, I'm sorry, as well as I almost forgot environmentalism. Sure enough, what winds up happening is people get away from the Republican Party. I mean, the Republican Party registration in California is so low. And what's funny is that it's not, yes, a lot of Republicans have left the state, but there's a lot of them that are still here that are registered to decline the state because they're embarrassed that the Republican Party is no longer Republican. In fact, one of our sponsors, the California Republican Assembly, one of our mottos is we are the Republican wing of the Republican Party.
I like that. Craig, I think everybody has absolutely incorrect in their placement of hate towards or anger towards the other 31 senators here, Republican senators. It's not just enough that you didn't vote for it. Why are you not standing on the Senate floor filibustering this? Why are you not standing there politicking your fellow conservatives to say, what are we doing? Why are you voting for that? You know what? You want to get reelected as my senator? You need to stand up against the other senators and make a big deal out of it. You need to stand up and make sure that they have been exposed as voting for this purely partisan Democrat liberal give money away bill.
Well, and I think some of them are, and not all of them are. Some of them have gone on and they're moving on to the process of governing on other stuff. And I'm not advocating for that. I'm just saying that I know that there are some legislators, some senators who are standing up, who are saying something, and who are putting up a fight. It would be nice if they could filibuster. The only way they can filibuster now is the old traditional ways, by standing up there and talking and not stopping. That's really, and all that really does is delay it as opposed to stop it.
But it brings recognition to the problem, and it brings enough time so where the other constituents of those 19 senators can start bringing hate down upon them and letting them know that that's not what they want from their senator.
Well, would have been nice to have seen that happen.
It sure would have. Yeah, and my two senators are going to get Rick Scott and Marco Rubio are definitely going to be getting an earful from me.
Of that I have no doubt.
I got something for you, boy. Come on over here.
All right, hey Mikey. Hunter Biden's laptop is back in the news, and it's actually a different. I'm confused because the story is being told differently in different places. According to the New York Post, it's a different laptop. According to some other sources, it's the same laptop. But basically, there's been a video that has been released. It was released by the Daily Mail, and it's a video of a naked Hunter Biden talking to a naked lady. There, it's all kind of fuzzy, which may be just his perspective. I don't know, but he's talking about a laptop, about him basically being passed out, high, drunk, whatever, and his laptop being stolen. And on this laptop, Mikey, apparently there were some crazy sex acts and other things that even he acknowledges could be used for blackmail. And once again, this was by some Russian drug dealers that, like I said, wound up stealing a laptop from him.
Craig, before I get in my vehicle, either one of my vehicles at any point, the first thing I do is I look in the back seat to make sure Hunter Biden's laptop is not there, because this thing seems to have legs and moves and goes wherever wherever the heck it wants to go. And I don't need that showing up in the back of my truck. So I just the wandering Hunter Biden laptop. When will it ever stop? It seems to move and take all of the information with it, but nobody can seem to lay their hands on it. This is, why is this guy not in jail? Oh, that's right. Because he's the president's son, and the president should be in jail also from the dealings he had with the Ukraine. Hunter should be in jail for a number of reasons. Evidently now it's drugs, it's sex. Don't forget the gun issue. This laptop with what happened in the Ukraine. This is just. This is like a movie. This is like this could be a crazy Stanley Kubrick, Quentin Tarantino, movie kind of thing where the laptop's on the move, causing mayhem around the globe.
Well, but see, what gets me, and the reason why I report on this is, number one, we literally we know for a fact now that the Biden administration is, well, how shall we say, compromised. We know that there is blackmail material out there that will compromise the Biden White House. So that's number one. And the fact that it's not a story, that the mainstream media has pretty much shut it down. And by the way, the mainstream media and big tech have both pretty much shut this story down. Very fact that nobody's talking about it. This ought to be on the front of, on the lead story on CNN, on MSNBC, on CBS, on the New York Times. I mean, this is a pretty big deal. And yet we're hearing absolutely nothing about it. It's selective reporting at its worst. Oh, we know this. Listen, it's the same thing we saw happen, 6-7 months ago with them hiding the rest of the stories when it came to the political season. That doesn't meet their agenda. It doesn't meet the current administration's goals. So they're just going to squash the story. You're never going to see it. Right. Well, exactly. And it's frustrating to see the hypocrisy. And then once again, realize even more just how unreliable mainstream media news is when it comes to stuff like this. Well, just remember, just over a year and a couple months, the life is going to become very, very difficult for them. And then about 3 years from now is when they'll get to go to the relocation centers for re-education. So, okay, moving right along. Talk about being selective. You guys have heard the story that reporting basically that Mexico is suing a number of different firearms manufacturers, a lot of big American firearms manufacturers, for the gun violence that takes place there in Mexico. Now, we'll ignore the fact that they're not suing, they're not going after the drug dealers and the cartels that are actually the ones that are doing all of this stuff, that are funding all of this stuff, because they're pretty much putting money in their pockets. But there was one notable entity, one notable firearms manufacturer that they are not suing. Mike, they're not suing SIG. Do you know why? Because that's the group that they're buying their machine guns from. What? That's craziness. That's craziness. That there is another very large gun distributor, Craig, that they're not suing also. Do you know who that is? Oh, the U.S. government. Yeah, the ATF, who has provided them with free weapons for many, many years. Operation Fast and Furious. Thank you very much. I think that's Dave Kodria that exposed that. Let's give him credit. That's that they're not suing them either. But yeah, how hypocritical. They're not suing SIG because SIG, they buy guns from SIG, but they're suing all of the other companies that sell firearms. It's
It's a crock. It's nonsense. Listen, you see what customs looks like when you come into the United States, right,
Right.
from Mexico. I mean, if you actually come to a border checkpoint, that they
Right.
check you, they look for you, they search you. And folks, if you ever tried to go the other way, Americans will check you before you go out for a little bit, not as much as you come in.
Right.
But Mexico, you get the wave. If there's anybody there at all, come on in.
Well, but
you really
Mike,
want to tell me you're serious about stopping guns from coming to your country? How about, I don't know, you stop me and ask me a question and maybe even take a look at my car when I come into your country.
Well, but you know what, Mike? What's even worse is that they're ignoring is that in many cases these are firearms that actually were sold by the U.S. government to the Mexican government, to whether it's the city or the federales or to the army, and have somehow gotten lost or stolen, or let's just say they defected over to working for the cartel and took their firearms with them. So these are firearms that were sold legally to the government, by the way, to the people who are suing the manufacturers, and then wind up in the hands of the cartels.
This is a 100% Mexican-caused problem. It has nothing to do with American firearms. I wonder if they're suing Russia for the AK-47s they have, if they're suing Czechoslovakia for the CZs they have, if they're suing Italy for the Berettas.
Mikey, see, now there you go. Blaming Mexicans. See, now, once again, back to racial sensitivity training for you.
This is it. Hey, remember, green side up, green side up. This is lunacy. It's not even hypocrisy. This is lunacy that they would attempt to do this. The only reason this happened, Craig, and I would swear on this, right? I'll put my paycheck on a box of Krispy Kremes and bet you that the only reason they are suing U.S. manufacturers in Massachusetts, in the Massachusetts courts, is because the Biden administration said it was okay or urged them to do so because America needed it to help with our fight against guns.
And that's exactly it, because you do have the administration that is actually encouraging both state AGs and states to change their rules in order to be able to sue gun manufacturers. Because ultimately, here's the thing: is these guys are going to have to fight these things, and even though in the end it's going to wind up getting to the Supreme Court and they're going to lose, they're going to spend millions upon millions of dollars defending themselves before it gets there.
Yep. And that's what it's designed to do, to bleed them dry. Yep. To take
That's
the money,
exactly what the goal
operating funds away from those firearms companies and stick it towards defending themselves from frivolous lawsuits.
Exactly. And it is, once again, sad to say the least. But that's why it's important that you support organizations like the Second Amendment Foundation, like Firearms Policy Coalition, like Gun Owners of America, who are actually filing lawsuits defending these manufacturers. The NSSF, well, they get industry money, so they don't need your money. But it's important that you support these organizations that are fighting these entities, that are fighting these lawsuits. And by the way, getting the attorney's fees back. They're going to make these entities, when they violate the Constitution and they violate the law, they're going to make them pay.
That's it. That's how they get it. That's they just got to hang on and survive until then. And like I said, they've got some operating funds, but gun business is just like any other business. It's a razor thin margin. So throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at lawsuits is not the way to survive.
Well, exactly. And the other thing, quite frankly, this is why I always tell folks, look, it's important that if firearms retailers and firearms manufacturers are put out of business, well, then how exactly are you going to exercise your constitutional rights if you can't get one anywhere? Just saying.
Well, it's easy, Craig. You're allowed to build your own firearm. You just get yourself oh, wait, never mind. Oh, yeah.
You get me, Mikey. You get me. Okay, moving right along. One of the biggest issues that I've always had with some of a case of Roe v. Wade, and I'm not going to get into the issue of abortion, but just how, in fact, the fact that once Roe v. Wade was passed, it was like there is no debate, or you're not allowed to really then have public debate over that issue. Well, one of the other issues where this is actually taking place has to do with the issue of gender dysphoria. And you have the Pediatric Association of America is basically going out of its way to stifle any sort of discussion or conversation or even debate about gender dysphoria, what it is, and what are the best ways to address it. And anyway, but that's becoming actually a very, very big story. In other words, you're not allowed to discuss it. You're not allowed to debate it. You're not allowed to say whether or not, for example, we should be giving puberty or hormone testosterone blocking drugs to children, drugs that could have a major effect on them the rest of their life, or whether or not they should be participating in. We should be doing the whole transformation process, surgeries and all, while they're still teenagers or little kids. I don't know, Micah. What do you think about this?
Well, I mean, listen, that's obviously ridiculous that we even have to have this discussion that it's allowed to happen. Now, a lot of the American doctors got their information, got their source. Instead of going to the AMA, they went to the European Medical Association, and this sex change, gender dysphoria thing. That's long ties coming out of Switzerland for years and years there. Well, what's recently come out of the European Medical Association, or whatever the proper title is that they should not be. And again, they've said this very early. So they should not be giving narcotics, giving drugs, giving testosterone blockers to anyone under the age of 18. Now, they were doing this as far down as age 12, Craig. But now that the Europeans have said they are not going to be out of the medical association. Now, doctors can still do what they want to, obviously, but the medical association has said no longer to give these this type of medication to anyone under the age of 18. So we'll see how the Americans play off of that, because that was their go-to, Craig, when they said, "Oh, Europe is so far advanced with this over this. We're just copying them."
Well, exactly, and because ultimately, here's the thing: you're giving someone medication that will potentially affect them the rest of their life, and they're, at the age of 12, at the age of 13, heck, even at the age of 15, 16. There is a lot that is still going on, and you don't want to be making decisions that are going to affect you, and particularly physically and mentally, the rest of your life. So the idea of doing something like that and allowing someone who we won't even allow to go to a tanning salon on their own, we necessarily want to be making, permanent decisions and permanent alterations to their bodies at that particular age. If you're a grown adult and you decide what you want to do with your body is your choice, that's fine. But I don't think we ought to be doing that with children.
Oh, but let's be clear. Listen, it's not like we're giving them aspirin or antibiotics or anything like that.
Right.
These are chemicals that change the brain patterns. This is mood enhancing, mood changing, thought process changing. This blocks testosterone. This increases estrogen. This changes the way your brain develops and the way you think. Mm-hmm. You waiting till 18 is just about the basic, I would think, of non-interference medical advice. You're taking, this is like, oh my God, my child is so small and cute, I'll give it coffee and cigarettes to stunt its growth. Okay, that's basically what you're doing. You're being unfair to science, unfair to history, to nature. You're being unfair to nature here. You're cheating nature out of its normal normal development of a young person.
Right. Well, but see that now, Mike, that is actually once again, I think we're mostly in this case talking about. Well, let me clarify. Maybe we are or not talking about male to female, because once you start introducing things like testosterone blockers, it affects your ability to have children in the future, to grow normally or anything like that. Now, their goal, quite frankly, is they don't want to grow normally. They don't want to grow facial hair. There's certain transformations that take place during puberty that they don't want to have happen so that they can be or appear more female. And so I say that to say that it's not that I don't understand their argument. I don't necessarily agree with it, but the point is you're making a permanent change. And what happens if that person, and we've seen instances, we saw the story, I think it was on 60 Minutes, where you had people who were like, yeah, no, it was just, people just ushered me through the process. And, I really, that wasn't the best thing for me. And now they've had to go the opposite direction and undo everything that was done.
It's the same way the opposite direction, Craig. It's when they take the young women and they want to pump them full of testosterone, that ends up ruining their reproductive organs. And, by the time they're 18, they can run a mile faster than Seabiscuit, and they got a head the size of Barry Bonds. It's crazy. Having
mastectomies and stuff like that. Anyway, but it's, once again, we're talking about permanent alterations, permanent changes. There's a reason we don't let minors under 18 get tattoos, right? Why are we allowing these permanent changes? in particular with folks who think about it. I'm not the person I was at 12 to 15. You're not the person you were at 12 to 15. Imagine being stuck with a permanent decision that was made then,
Yeah.
having to stick with that decision now.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, folks.
Anybody that denies that is just lying out loud. That's all they're doing. Yeah.
Well, they're not looking at it objectively in the eyes of protecting children, and that's
They're
ultimately
lying.
what we're talking about.
No matter what their point of view is, no matter what their argument is on that topic, they're lying. Well, this kid is no, you don't really believe that. You're just so ate up with Orange Man bad or whatever your point is that you're just standing here lying to me. You just.
Okay, now Mike, this next topic is one that has hit me really hard. You and I do a significant amount of traveling, going to shows and stuff like that. We've probably had more than one beverage at an airport, and the amount of tyranny that is taking place in airports. One in particular, there in New York, where they are serving a a $27.85 beer. Mikey.
This is the Port Authority.
New York and New Jersey, which consists of all the seaports and all of your intermodal stations, but most importantly, the airport of LaGuardia, of Kennedy, and Newark. And this is just, you got to understand the Northeast, Greg. You got to understand the city up there. That this is the way it goes. Like, this is the kind of place where, oh, listen, I'd like to get a building permit here to fix this. To fix this up and revitalize this part of the community. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a 6-month wait and a $300 fee. Unless you want to go see Jimmy over there and give him $3,000, and then we can have it done in 48 hours. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of city that exists in New York every day. And this is what's going on in the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. This has gone unchecked for many times. They've passed an ordinance there that says the prices at an airport cannot be more than 10% of what the local economy prices are. So you go outside the JFK there, and a bottle of soda is $1.79, but inside JFK Airport it's $4. Well, Craig, listen, I'm not no math magician, but that's a lot more than 10%. That'd be a 17.9 cent increase, and $4 is a lot more than that over $1.79.
Clearly, you have failed your Common Core math, Common Core math education. But Mike, the thing that gets me is that now, once again, this particular price is extremely exorbitant, but this is not uncommon to see. No. I mean, because you can go into an airport and you'll see a bunch of different restaurants that you'll see when you're outside of the airport, and the prices are crazy sky high. And you're stuck because, well, if you're waiting for a flight or something like that, it's not like you can just leave and then bring anything back in. No, that can't happen.
Yeah, because they're working in cahoots with the TSA, and you can't bring in more than 3 ounces. Remember? By the way, when they find all that alcohol, it does not get dumped out and thrown away either. Just so you know that. Listen, they asked them. I said, "Well, what's the deal with the beer for $27.85?" And Greg, this is what these guys had the nerve to say. They said, we typed it in wrong. It should have been $18.45." Like, dude, that's still not 10%. Okay, And they said, we typed it in wrong. You see, I used my hand and I meant to type a 1 and I hit a 2. These are the same kind of places, Craig, when they bring the kid in that works there and he's got a black eye, and they go, "What happened to the kid?" And they go, "Oh, he fell." And the kid goes, "What happened?" He go, I fell. Sorry. Okay. This is New York. This is the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. Mm-hmm. This is how it operates there. Always been amazed that they've never been gone after before, but it's such a giant multi-state conglomerate of government that it's impossible to get in there. And I'm glad that beer is what finally brought it to light. Folks, I want you to understand, we're talking about a single bottle of I think it was Sam Adams Summer Seasonal.
Yes.
Which would normally be about $3-4 on the outside. If you went to a bar, maybe it would be $5 or $6 for a beer, right? $27 in the airport.
You could go to the most expensive grocery store and pay less than that for a case of it.
That's a case price. That's exactly what that is. That's a case price. That's
so, folks, once again, this is not. I mean, yeah, it's about the beer, but it's not really about the beer. It's about out of control government. It's about what happens when you let a governmental entity make decisions, control the market, This is the sort of thing that happens. Anyway, that's kind of the real story behind the story, for lack of
This is the same reason, and I'll tell you right now, because the Trade Center, when the Trade Center was rebuilt, Freedom Tower there, which is part of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey because of its location, and it is a Port Authority building. That's why that building took 15 years to build when the original Twin Towers took like 3, okay? Because the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, everybody had to get in there and get their little taste out of it, okay? Everybody had to, whoa, what are you doing? You didn't get permission from Johnny to use that concrete contractor. This is what goes on in the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. All right, Mike, let's get into our parting shot of the day. We finally figured out how to put an end. And needless to say, it had to be Donald Trump who figured out how to kill the coronavirus.
This
you
man
want to know how we do it?
He got smarts beyond all of us, this guy.
You know what? He really does, because he thinks outside the box.
Yeah.
And, he looks at history, he looks at facts, he looks at what the need is, and then he just applies it. And, this is the solution that he came up with. How to kill the coronavirus. Hey, Hillary, I hear the coronavirus is going to be testifying against you.
It's done. It's over with. Greg, you and I asked the other day where the Bravo variant and the Charlie variant were. Well, I think I know what happened. I think Hillary already got to them.
Exactly. Hillary she got to Bravo and Charlie.
Yeah,
now,
she's already
Delta is next.
That's it. Yep. Exactly right. Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, folks. Well, hey, that's going to be it for today's edition of the Rundown. But tomorrow is Feedback Friday. You guys know Feedback Friday is where we kind of talk with you guys. We get your word. We see what you guys are thinking about with the news of the week. And then, the best commenters get a chance to win some free stuff.
That's it. This week we've got a 9.5-inch 5.56 barrel that you can use for your pistol build or your short barrel rifle build. So got a nice 5.56 barrel for you.
Right. Now, once again, as I always say, I know you could be watching us on any number of channels, the California Republican Assembly, Arms Room Radio, 2A News, but the place to comment, the place where the conversation is taking place is at the Rundown. So you got to go to the Rundown. If you go to the rundown.us, that'll take you to our YouTube channel, or you can find us on Facebook. That's where you've got to comment if you want a chance to win. So make sure you plug into us there tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Western.
There you go. 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Western. Got it. Let me put it on my calendar here.
Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and encourage your friends to do the same.
Like, share, subscribe. Epstein didn't kill himself.